Hey bro, did you hear that next year Nintendo is making all inputs completely illegal? Well, what's an input? An input is any time I tell the game to do something with my controller. Wheelies, items, tricking, moving, all inputs, and all illegal. So in preparation for their illegality, I'll be trying to beat all 32 tracks in a single Grand Prix, all while using the least inputs I possibly can while still winning at the end, aka putting the most points on the scoreboard. Alright, now just for research purposes, let me just test a Luigi circuit race and count how many inputs I make. 94. I counted 94 inputs. 94 inputs times 32 tracks equals a minimum of 3008 inputs to beat the whole game. And keep in mind, Luigi Circuit is only a very short track. Let's focus on cutting down our inputs to the bare minimum using Luigi Circuit as our playground, and we'll go from here. First to leave is our non-essentials, items, wheelies, and tricks. Also, we seem to be wasting a ton of inputs making and correcting drifts. So how about we cut down to just one and attempt to drive the whole circuit in one big drift. Surely this will cut down on hella inputs. I got straight to work. I jumped on my little Magic Cruiser and was tearing up the course, trying to break my way through Luigi Circuit using just one drift, no tricks, no items, no wheelies. If I were to pull this off, that would be fantastic. This would bring our total inputs from 94 to 3. However, after 30 minutes of failed attempts, I got up to go snap one off and I remembered something very important. Automatic mode exists. Anyways, now with automatic mode enabled, theoretically all we gotta do is hold A for the whole race to remain moving forwards and just make one continuous stick input so we don't crash. And just to clarify real quick how the stick input works, basically once I push it for the first time, this will count as an input. However, if I allow the stick to go back to neutral position and then push a new direction, this will count as a separate input. So in order to avoid this, I just have to make one continuous stick input that lasts me the whole race. So if we do these two things correctly, we're looking at 2 inputs per race, which equals 64 for the entire game. Making sense? Incredible. Now I feel pretty lobotomized and at the mercy of the CPUs while playing like this. I feel like I am a CPU playing like this. However, there are some small ways we can manipulate the race without pressing any additional buttons. For instance, I obviously can't just use an item, but if there was an item that could use itself, holy shit, the Mega Cloud. Likewise, I can also be on the lookout for dropped items ahead of me, and even in some scenarios, just me running into a box and hogging a powerful item is super beneficial, because that just prevents CPUs from using them against me, like blues or shocks. Also walls, they're going to be hella useful for red shell guiding, so look out for walls. Now with all this in mind, I workshopped a little strategy. As soon as the race begins, I immediately hold A and push right, fishing for a slipstream for one of these bozos, so I can leap up into the 4th to 7th range as I hit the first 2 item sets, putting me in a prime position for a Mega Cloud. Hopefully then, as Mega Funky, I can crush everyone and make them drop useful junk for me to pick up on lap 2. And then lap 3, I pray I get lucky and drive very straight using Funky and the Flame Runner's speed stat to the fullest. And if I don't pull a Mega, I don't know, I'm just gonna drive well and get lucky. Now it took a few attempts, but eventually I succeeded in achieving first place on Luigi Circuit playing under these conditions. So at least now I know it's possible. But before I try and beat the entire game like this, is there any more room for improvement? Can we go lower than 2? How could I or anyone else possibly use fewer inputs than that? Well, you can't. Or at least I don't think so. Kind of. I got very excited when I remembered I could use a Wii remote. I thought, oh my god, I can just hold 2 and steer with the remote itself, no stick required. Have we cracked the final barrier? Can we actually beat races with a single input? Nah, not quite. The more I pondered the ethics of this revelation, the more it's like, yeah, we're still using the medium of a controller to make inputs into the game. Even the control panel clocks the tilting of the Wii remote as separate inputs. But using some crazy mental gymnastics, we can kinda say we're only pressing one button. Now you can tell your 5-year-old cousin you can beat Rainbow Road with one button, and he'll be like, nah, and you'll be like, yeah. Call this challenge category a testicle, because I think there's 2 of them here. But for the sake of me and sane people everywhere, let's not use a Wiimote for this whole thing. It's still the same amount of inputs at the end of the day, and trying to ensure the Wii remote never returns to the neutral position is borderline impossible. It's always recalculating the new resting position, and it's just a whole nightmare for the exact same outcome. So let's plug my GameCube controller back in, and without any more bullshit, let's begin. me sideways. That was way too close for my liking. I barely squeaked out that win over Satan. I mean the devil. I mean Cooper. But there you have it, bros. That was 2 inputs per track for 64 inputs to beat all of Mario Kart. Wait, what? We can go lower? The fuck you mean we can go lower? I barely pulled that off. Oh wait, that Loki makes sense. Apparently I'm an idiot, and I got last place twice, and I still won the GP. So theoretically, I could have just sat there like a rock, making 0 inputs on those tracks for the exact same outcome, saving on 4 unnecessary inputs. So now let's weaponize this, and take it to its limit. Just how many races can I comfortably throw to save on inputs while still scraping through on enough points to win the GP? Tricky part is, it's kind of like I'm flirting with death by doing this. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen in the next race. Maybe I'll get screwed, and now I'm just it's a dangerously thin line I'm skating. Taking a look at my current results, we know for a fact that I can afford to throw 2 races and still win, because I've essentially already done that. However, I also placed 11th 2 times and 10th once, which only nets me 4 points. Now I believe I can throw all of those races as well. However, that does mean I'm gonna have to pick up the slack on the other tracks. But realistically, all that needs to happen is that I have to get a 2nd instead of a 4th in one other race, and that covers it. I think I'll take those chances. Okay, so now that's 5 races I'm now just gonna sit there and do nothing to save on inputs, which will hopefully bring us down to 54 total inputs. Now, a few other things to consider. Do I use my throws immediately and play catch up for the rest of the GP? Or do I charge ahead, take control, and use them towards the end when I've established a bit of a safety net, which gives me more options? Also, what even tracks do I use them on? Short ones, long ones, hard ones? I don't know. I low-key settled on the safest option possible and decided I'd throw all the tracks I performed the worst in last time. There's a lot of logic in that plan. I probably did bad in them for a reason, you know? I say I got 10th, 11th, and 12th in Maple Treeway, N64 Bowser's Castle, and Wario's Goldmine. I'm assuming it's because they're all really long and I can't protect myself properly. You know, it just gives the game more opportunity to attack and stomp all over me. So if I'm in a position where I'm doing real good and I can afford to throw another track, I'll try to look out for a long one, or one I did bad in last time. Once again, that's assuming I can even afford to throw a 6th track. Now, I do have one more ace up my sleeve. I'd say he kind of leads the bunch, and there's a chance you know him quite well. And no, it's not my dad when he hasn't shaved his back in a month.
Yeah. Motherfucker. Donkey Kong. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Ostriches, telling all the business. Be in the jungle, hanging with the swordfishes. Do you see the DK? Ye's right here. Fuck around and get the Kremlin all sent up for years. Ostriches, telling all the business. Be in the jungle, hanging with the swordfishes. Do you see the DK? Ye's right here. Fuck around and get the Kremlin all sent up for years. So they're finally here, performing for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap as we take you through this monkey rap. He's the leader of the bunch, you know him well. He's finally back to kick some tail. His coconut gun can fire in spurts. If he shoots ya, it's gonna hurt. He's bigger, he's faster, and stronger too. He's the first member of the DK crew. Ostriches, telling all the business. Be in the jungle, hanging with the swordfishes. Do you see the DK? Yeah, he's right here. Book a run and get the Kremlin all set up for years.
He has no style, he has no grace. This Kong has a funny face. He can handstand when he needs to. Stretch his arms out just for you. And play himself just like a balloon. This crazy Kong just digs his tune. He's back again, and about time too. And this time, he's in the mode. He can fly real high with his jetpack on, with his pistols out. He's one tough Kong. He'll make you smile when he plays his tune. But Kremlins beware, cause he's after you. Finally, he's here for you. It's the last member of the fucking DK crew. This Kong's so strong, it isn't funny. Can make a Kremlin cry out for mummy. Can pick up a boulder with relative ease. Makes crushing rocks seem like such a breeze. He may move slow, he catch up high, but this Kong is one hell of a guy.
Now that was sensational. Just about as good as it gets, bro. We got so lucky and did way better than planned. I could tell this was going to be a special Grand Prix just from the ending of our very first race. We are in for a ride. Holy. Look at this blue recovery on GCN Mario Circuit, and this lap 3 red shell guide on Wii Mario Circuit, and this crazy mega pull on Coconut Mall, murdering dry bones on Bowser's Castle. It was purely strategic. I'm sorry, my boy. Nailing gap jump on DK Mountain, red guiding and shortcutting on Ghost Valley, clutch slipstreams on Mario Raceway. It was actually insane the amount of luck I had on my side. However, it is still Mario Kart, so some degree of bull is mandatory. Look at Bowser's Castle 3. What the Now check out Toad's Factory. I won't lie, this one's kinda on me, but still, I just wasn't expecting to bounce so bizarrely. This actually led to my worst unintentional finish at 9th place. However, overall, it was just insane how well I placed. In fact, I did so well, I ended up throwing not just 5 races, but 9. That's almost double what I expected. That's 18 whole inputs we cut down by doing nothing. Literally. Even Rainbow Road, my climactic finale, was just me sitting there hurtling towards victory. So now one could assume my final score was 46 inputs, 18 less than my original 64. However, I actually ended with 47. Why? Pretty much the scores were super bunched up going into the final 3 races: Moonview Highway, Bowser's Castle, and Rainbow Road. And I knew if I could grab first place on both Moonview and Bowser's Castle, I could just barely afford a 15-point margin over Dry Bones, meaning it would be safe enough for me to throw Rainbow Road, cutting down on a further 2 inputs. Though I told myself if I deem it to be really worth it, I can make 1 extra input on Moonview Highway or Bowser's Castle to help secure first place, because that will pay off if it allows me to save a further 2 inputs on another race. So I was using it as a lifeline, like if I was really in a pinch and needed to press L once to red the person in front of me to take a win, or pull up a banana so I don't lose first, or maybe I need to hit the D-pad to barely edge someone out on the line. So that makes what ended up happening some lame ass shit. I used my one holy grail to press the A button, the button I'm already holding regardless of what's going on. Basically, I freaked out on this turn and I purely instinctively took my finger off the A button until I knew I could make the turn. And then I was like, fuck! That's what I used it on. I mean, it did keep me safe, but I got flattened by a car on the next turn anyway, so god damn it. That one somewhat mishap adds 1 extra input and puts me at 47 total inputs. I'm pretty proud of that number. I'm sure a lot of you demons could do even better. But it takes a lot of patience and luck, let me tell you, dude. One thing wrong happens on race 26, like a CPU just decides to red you and you can't even pull up a nani. It's just heartbreaking stuff, man. And I think I've actually devised the theoretical limit to this challenge, the perfect score. I think it's 40 inputs, which requires winning 20 races and throwing 12. The score also makes some assumptions, like the second place CPU completely falls off towards the end, which they tend to do, but you know, it would just be an astounding amount of luck. It would be a very specific set of things would have to happen in order for you to win 20 perfectly and then throw 12, you know? And I'll totally try for the theoretical lowest possible inputs one day, but for now, I am a happy 47 input kind of guy. By the way, I just thought that you should know Nintendo's not actually making inputs illegal. I just had nothing going on this weekend. Okay, thanks, bye.
Walnuts, peanuts, pineapple smells, grapes, melons, oranges, and coconut shells. Oh yeah, walnuts, peanuts, pineapple smells, grapes, melons, oranges, and coconut shells. Oh yeah.